Ciao friends, my name is Joey. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm doing a project with the Potomac Beads treasure box for the month of January. It was called Fireside Warmth, and it was just like evoking a log cabin in the woods in the winter time. It had beautiful reds and greens and some antique brass, I guess is the color. And so what I am doing is using these links that came in the box. There were 5 of them in the box, and it's a solid, perfect circle link. And I am also using these gemstones that came in the box. We got a 15-inch strand of fire agate faceted round peridot color beads, and I'm using those and probably one of the green dagger beads that came in the box for a drop. I've taken a few lengths of chain that was just left over from something, and my intention here is to do a really cool chain bracelet that's really artisan, one of a kind. So I did a few links already, and I've already started playing with how I want to connect them. Let me put this on my arm. So it's going to kind of look like that, just be the most interesting beaded chain I could think of. So I did start like wrapping the gemstones around the frames, but instead of doing them contrived and lined up, a bead 3 wraps, a bead 3 wraps, and filling the whole thing, I decided to create these randomly. So I'm working in odd numbers. Each of my links has an odd number. And then I did want to do a little pop of gold. I have my gold wire, I have the antique brass rings, the green, and so I brought in a Potomac Beads seed bead that I had in my stash. It's an 8/0 seed bead, and just to alternate those 2 metals. And since I was doing that for my connecting components, I decided to go ahead and wrap some of the seed beads here and there on my links. So here's a couple of them that I've done, and as you can see, they are just totally random. I'm like trying to leave some connecting spaces, working in 3s, 2s, odd numbers. And so I have one more to do. I'm going to show you what I did. I used 26 gauge wire, and I did not measure. This is probably about 16 inches. And I did each one a little bit different because, as you can see on the links, I've gone from really nice, tight wrapped coils and then spread out my wraps a little bit just to add texture and interest and really embellish the ring with the 26 gauge wire. So I'm going to start just anywhere, and it's very, very soft wire. It's easy on your hands. I'm just making like a little fold, and I'm going to pinch it closed with my fingers, and definitely pliers helps here, but I'm just going to get started wrapping, and I get a little bit more of tightness when I'm using my pliers to wrap. And this is so fun because it's random, it doesn't have to be like perfectly lined up coils, and I quite like when it has some areas where the coils are really tight and neat. I'm going to trim that. That is one thing, you don't want anything sharp on this design, so I've been trying to trim on the inside, trim and tuck on the inside of my rings, and kind of do that motion where you're chasing the wire around the ring. And I'm gonna, as I go, I'm gonna start with a really nice little tight bundle, and you can also use your pliers to gently squish, kind of press this into the ring, and front to back, as it's a chain link. So that's the little start there. I do want this to be on the top. It's always a little bit to manage, but the other thing that really, this is random, so it's fun and easy, and you don't have to stress too much, but you don't want to kink your wire. So when you have to pull the wire through the little loop, just doing it smoothly. So of course, having your nylon jaw pliers at hand when you're doing any wire working is a good thing. So when I had the wire on the top of the ring and not on the inside of the ring, then I'm just picking up, I'm going to get some a little bit more of a green color. I have a couple, some of these are like almost clear, So I was kind of mixing in, they are also random, but I'm kind of mixing in the green with the clear, and there's a few chocolatey brown ones on that strand. So I'm going to let this drop down right to the top of my wire. And again, because this is random, it's really fun and you don't have to stress over it being perfect. But I do want my bead to be wired to the outer edge of the ring. So I'm just, with my thumb and forefinger, I'm just going to hold it there. If you can see, I know my finger is in the way, and this is a pretty long piece of wire. So I'm going to feed the end through and with my hand just wind it into a big loop so that I'm not putting a kink in it. And then I'm just going to pull it tight around that frame and then go through again. And I've been doing 3 to 4 in between each of the gemstone beads. But you know, because it's random, just like if you like this project and if you want to give it a try, make it with your heart. Like, just make those design decisions as you go, as you wrap. You know, look at your coils and say, okay, it's perfect, or I want it to be thicker or wider. That's what I've been doing on this project. And so you could actually, because I'm doing it random, that actually looks really good. But I have been tightening my coils and then pinching the whole thing together. So I'm going to kind of continue with what I've been doing on the other rings. And that is pretty much in there. On a couple of these, because I wanted the gemstone to sit on the top, I've come right here with my plier and just given that wire a little extra bend just to tighten it and also pull it down to the bead frame. And so let's see, on this one I think I'm going to do maybe 2 gemstones on one side and 1 on the other side, and then just some random wire wraps. But as you can see, each one of my links is different. So I'm just going to keep going like that. Get my wire back onto the top. I mean, I guess you really could, I just thought of that as I was doing this, I guess you really could wire some on the inside of the ring as well. That would be really pretty. That's the fun of a design like this. Okay, this is my 3rd peridot. And then after I get my 3 wraps next to this one and get this looking the way I want, I'm going to wind my wire at random, just embellishing the ring around to another spot on the ring, and do like maybe 2 on the other side. I liked the texture and just the interest of it constantly changing. I thought it was really pretty and very artisan, very handmade, not machine made look. So here's where I'm going to start. I'm still pulling my wire tight, but I'm like moving away from the coils. And you can, as you go, you know, use your pliers to make sure that it's tightened and that it landed on the ring where you want it. I just sat here and just, you know, calmly made my way around each of the rings. This is the 5th one. You can like do another tight coil in between some looser coils. It just looks really pretty. So like that. And I'm going to make my way to the other side and add another bead or 2. Like I said, I've decided on this as I go. Just going that way so you don't put a kink in your wire. And I'm going to finish this one by spreading out my wraps and then tightening them up and just kind of adding them in and meeting them up to where I first started on this one. So pretty. Just lay that one in there, and I'm going to come over here and trim it so that I can tuck it on the inside of the ring. And I'm just going to open and close my pliers and go around the ring, and that kind of chases the wire around the ring and makes it nice and tight. And I'm just going to pull these final ones together. So there's my last ring. And then for my connecting component, I used one of these beautiful check glass nugget beads. It's an olivine Picasso wash on these. They look so beautiful. And I just have a little piece of 20 gauge wire here, and I used my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper because that fit really nicely over the ring when I connected. So if you can see here, the ring is articulated with that size of a loop. It doesn't get stuck. So since I don't have any beads on the wire to start out with, I'm going to place it in there just past the back jaw of the tool and let it make that fresh blunt cut. So that is a step I can skip with my cutters. And I just pull the wire down so that loop is now centered on my wire. And when I take it away, I have a really pretty loop. So for this pattern, I started out with a green gemstone bead and then one of my 8/0 gold metallic seed beads, and then one of these check glass nugget beads, and then same pattern in reverse, gold seed bead and then a gemstone bead. And now on this end, I wanted my loops to be going in the same direction. So the one-step looper always makes your loops going upward. So this one is where the open end is upward. And this time I'll use the guide hole in the tool and put it all the way through. And I'm going to gently close the tool, maintaining control here. And I know it's going to make a cut right there, but can you see how tight that little gemstone bead is up to the front jaw? That could potentially break that bead or even damage this, or it's just not good. So I just backed it away like a millimeter or so, and now when I gently close the tool, I can see that I have a little bit of space there, which will protect my beads. And I don't pop this closed. I'm controlling as I close, so I can come here and pull my stack of beads down as I'm closing. Now the jaw is completely closed, and I can see that if I need to do anything to center that loop, you can take another pair of pliers if they've become misaligned. And since I went really, really slow to show you guys, I could see that that loop did not close all the way, but that's totally okay. It's a simple loop, and I was planning to open it anyway, so I'll go ahead and finish opening it. And so now I just have to play with how I want to connect these and get my length just right. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this one here, and I'm just going to play with the connection because I could also take some of this 20 gauge wire and make some jump rings and just connect a couple of my embellished rings with jump rings. I could put 2 together like this to get my length right, and just connecting them at random. So I'm just going to play with that for a second to get my proper length. Okay, so I am only going to be using 4 of the rings and 4 of the components to get my length. I didn't want to make this too long because I want to take this little scrap of chain so that this bracelet will be fully adjustable. So I'm going to make some jump rings to connect these 2 rings. These 2 here will get connected directly to the rings like we did the other one, so I'll go ahead and do that. I quite like changing up the connecting pattern as well. Like the whole piece is so handmade, artisan, unique. I just love that. So this one can get attached here, and I'm just choosing a spot, and it will move around a little bit, but I'm just choosing a spot where you know, where there's no beads, but even you could like go right in between. But I'm kind of using the blank spaces that I did not embellish with beads to connect my simple loops to. So I'm going to make a couple of jump rings. I'm going to use this barrel on my bail making plier. Come to the end that I did a nice fresh blunt cut, and I'm just going to make a coil, and I'll have jump rings that are in the same 20 gauge wire that I used for my components, and everything matches. Okay. I did a small coil because, whoops, I did a small coil because I don't need too many. And I'm going to use the flush side of my flush cutter, and right where I made my first coil, snip one ring at a time, straight up. Okay, now I'm going to use this to attach my chain and to attach these two rings directly to each other, and maybe even do a double jump ring here. Oh, I love how that moves. That's so pretty. I love it. I love how this is articulated. It's really pretty. I like how the embellished beads kind of meet up with each other. I think I will do, just not really for security, but just for looks, do a double jump ring here. That's really pretty. Okay, and then I can actually attach my chain directly to this simple loop on this end. And on the other end, I have this little hook left over from something, and I'm going to attach that. I could, I actually could, let's see, could attach it the same way, but let me just check my length. This will be adjustable. So yeah, I think I'll do it with a jump ring. It's just a little bit easier when you have articulation to attach, to put this on and off. And you could use a lobster claw clasp. This is just what I had, and I quite like the whole piece. I think it is wonderful. I like these two rings joining, and then you could really be done here. With this bracelet, you could really be done. This little hook can grab onto any of the links in the chain. They fit, I checked. And so you could make it a little bit tighter. As everybody knows, you cannot clasp a bracelet when you are filming. But anyway, you can clasp it, and you could really be done here. But I have a thing about my chains being naked on the last link. So I have to make sure this, I might need to pull this hook out a little bit. So I have one of the beautiful dagger beads that came in the treasure box this month, and I think it will be the perfect little complement on the end of the chain. It looks so great with the check glass nugget beads and with the gemstone beads, and you could use like 20 gauge wire for that, but I had this little piece of my 26 gauge wire left over from my wrapping, so I'm going to do like a briolette wrap with this little piece of leftover wire. The hole on this is big enough that you could put 20 gauge wire through there if you wanted to. So I'm going to do, I might even get creative with this since I have such a nice long piece of wire I'm going to pull these two together and just, this is such soft wire, I can even pinch it with my fingers and just get it to kind of hug the top of the bead like that. And I am going to do a wire wrapped loop, get a hold of the two where they meet, and I'm going to, with this very fine gauge wire, I'm going to do a wire wrapped loop. So I'm giving it a 90-degree bend, but since it is such fine gauge wire, I'm going to double my loop over. So I'm going to put my round nose pliers in there and bring that wire over the top barrel. Then I'm going to rotate the barrel out of my way, and I wanted to leave this wire hanging out because I'm going to wrap right on top of where I've cut it. So now that I can see where I will be wrapping, I'm going to snip that wire. Okay, I'm just doing this way because I want to bring this around like we would for a normal wire wrapped loop, but I want to rotate my pliers again and wrap it a second time, just because this wire is so fine. So I'm just getting a second wrap in there, just like that. And so now I can come and get a hold of that little double loop, and now I'm going to wrap right down to the dagger bead, and I'm going to make sure that I pick up that wire that I've cut. And I want to thicken this as well. So I may wrap down to my dagger bead and then wrap back up again. As I said, since I had this little scrap of wire, I decided to use it and be creative. So let me pause there and see what it looks like. That is so pretty. I have enough that I could even wrap right on top of, wrap all the way down to my dagger bead. That is so pretty. What a beautiful little drop. So I'm going to come right to here, and I can actually, this is open a little bit, I could actually add it directly to my last chain. I just want to tidy up this link on the chain. This is one that's not solid links, which is nice. They can open. I'm going to use one of the jump rings we just made and put this little drop right at the end of the bracelet. And just make sure it's closed really well. Okay, that fun little fast, very unique bracelet project is done. The little dagger bead looks amazing. Let me try again to clasp this on camera. I have to open that. There you go. Look at that, you guys. Isn't that the prettiest artisan chain bracelet? I just love the way that turned out. I love that it's fully adjustable. You could give this to anybody and it will fit them. That is just a really, really pretty. So I will put links in the description box to the Potomac Treasure Box. They also offer another box called the Kit Edition. If you are a person that likes to do the handiwork, but you like patterns and supplies to already be gathered up for you, that is a wonderful addition. And you can also use my link to shop their website. It helps out my channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And I always recommend Potomac Beads because they have a wonderful organized website. You can find seed beads, you can find crystals, gemstones, findings. Their Athena cast line is amazing. So use my links if you need to replenish supplies, and I will put all my favorite tools and things also, as I always do, in the description box. I thank you so much much for watching. I hope everybody's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, friends.